League of Legends. I played it a few times in my day.
Come on! Get me out!
Good shit. I saw it.
But man, I can't even describe to you how amazing this show is to watch. It is an excellent palate cleanser in comparison to watching the Netflix Cowboy Bebop. Now, I made a video in the past about this show when it came to its first act, but it only got better when the second and third act came out. And I wanted to make a follow-up video to this. I want to go a tad bit more in depth in the video about this show, starting with the plot. Now, the plot is nothing special. It's very simple, actually. You got top side and bottom side. Top side's very privileged in their lifestyle and slightly ignorant to the hardships that people have to face, compared to bottom side where there's a power gap filled by criminal lords, which resulted in uncontrollable violence, rampant drug use, and complete corruption. With this resource disparity, there's obvious resentment towards each side, creating the conflict. So as I said before, the plot's nothing special and it's actually quite simplistic. But the amazing part about this is it allows the show to emphasize the characters. As I've always said, interesting characters are far better than interesting plots. Characters alone can carry a story, but a plot alone cannot. Of course, it's better to have both, but if you had to choose one or the other, it's far more beneficial to have interesting characters. And Arcane does not lack in this department at all. They have a ton of interesting characters, but the two that really take the show is Jinx and Vi. These two are absolutely fun to watch and have very interesting and meaningful moments throughout the show, especially Jinx, as she's a very complex character. From her childhood trauma of accidentally killing her friends, to abandonment issues, and even suffering from PTSD and mental health problems. And it's so enjoyable to watch her when she has this insane Harley Quinn vibe. This character literally blows up things for fun. And one of the major things I love about the show is that Arcane is not afraid of tackling dark themes. From drug abuse that can completely corrupt a person, to suicidal thoughts and nearly action in Jason Victor's case, to talking about not living up to expectations, to even coming to terms with your own mortality. I mean, Arcane can get really dark, and I love that about it. It's not afraid to talk about some uncomfortable issues that are very relevant in our society today. And even though animes and animations have gotten a lot more respect over the years, there is still a slight negative stigma for some people against these types of shows and movies, solely because their thought process is that it's made for kids. And usually these people are ignorant and don't have a lot of experience with these types of shows or movies. But I still love shows like Arcane that destroy these false and negative accusations towards it. The next thing I want to mention is the music. In my previous video, I praised this, and it's no different in this one. The music is just downright perfect. I'm not just talking about the intro. There's music throughout the episode for specific moments, and it just fits the tone perfectly. Another thing I want to mention is the choreography. In Act 1, it was alright, nothing crazy, nothing special, but man, Act 2 and Act 3, it stepped it up completely. I mean, this bitch was looking like a Shonen Jump anime. Okay, maybe the choreography wasn't that crazy, but I like the simplistic fight scenes and the emphasis on the art style of them. The fight between Echo and Jinx was just so beautifully animated, and I love how the art style changed throughout the fight, changing the depiction of it and the interpretation for the viewer. This leads to my next point, which is the art style. Just like the music in this, I also praised this in my last video of Arcane, but I also love how the artists and writers incorporate the animation and art style into storytelling. For example, when Jinx has her mental breakdowns or her PTSD, you can see the art style turn more scratchy and messy. Alongside the sharp cuts from the editors, it adds a really uneasy feeling to the scene, which I love because it really emphasizes the mental stress Jinx is experiencing. And since we're on the topic of art style and animation, I might as well state the obvious here. It's not just the choreography. Throughout the entire show, the animation is just beautiful. It's like I entered another dimension or I'm seeing in fucking 4K. Especially the scenery shots, like, oh my god, just look at this scene! Jesus Christ, I know I feel like I'm just rambling on about the animation art style, but I can't emphasize this enough. It is just so beautiful to look at. Screw the story and characters, you could just show me this for a fucking hour and I wouldn't mind. Another thing I want to add, I completely forgot and I just remembered while I was recording, is that the reason why the characters are so meaningful and impactful in the show is because of the dialogue. I also mentioned this in my last video. I know I kind of sound like a broken record here, but the dialogue is just used so efficiently and I had to mention it. It's either to push the plot, the character development, or the world building. And that's how dialogue should be used. The dialogue exchanges between certain characters like Vi and Vander, or Jinx and Silco, or even Jace and Victor. Most of the characters in the show have meaningful dialogue that the audience can get invested into. With all that being said, I highly recommend anyone to watch Arcane. And I usually don't use this word so lightly because I'm afraid to, especially for a newer show like this, with very few seasons. But I feel like I have to say it right now. The first season, at least, of Arcane is a masterpiece. And like I said, I don't really like using the word masterpiece for such a new show because usually calling a show a masterpiece based off of one or just a few seasons can lead to catastrophic consequences. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Game of Thrones, season 7 and 8. Thanks, D&D. You fucking pricks. But with that being said, Arcane is just so well done. It's amazing, and honestly, I can't even name any cons off the top of my head. The only thing I kind of can name is when Victor lost his assistant, and that was an emotional moment, especially for Victor. But due to the fact that we didn't have any character development for the assistant, I feel like the impact of that was kind of nullified. But literally, that's such a minute and minuscule nitpick. The fact that I have to even say that as a con for this show kind of emphasizes how amazing Arcane is. And if Arcane keeps on its current course, I have no doubt that this show will be one to remember. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing, and comment below what I should do next. I'll do movies, games, anime, shows, whatever. But again, thank you for watching.